Live from New York, it's the show that is looking into hiring Bill Belichick. If nobody else wants him, we'll take you, buddy.
He might be fun.
He'd be great.
No.
Oh, yeah.
All right, much like the Academy Awards, we don't need 10 Best Picture nominees. We don't need 5 MVP finalists.
I thought you liked that.
I like that you vote. I like that you vote, but I'm saying we don't need to invite 5 to the award ceremony when we know 5. We almost assuredly know who's winning it. We definitely know who's not winning it. But set that aside. What these 5 finalists mean is these were the top 5 vote getters. That's who they're inviting. They're inviting the people who finished 1 through 5 in each category, and it's ridiculous. Listen, Lamar obviously has to be there. Lamar's going to win it. Dak obviously has to be there. He had a strong case throughout the entirety of the year, and I think everyone expects him to finish second. Christian McCaffrey has to be there. Brock Purdy and Josh Allen have no business being top 5 MVP finalists. Let's deal with the Brock Purdy stuff first. Were the Niners some historic juggernaut? Did the Niners, were they a team whose offense had to be so sensational because the defense was so bad? No. They won 12 games. They were one of 7 teams in the league this year to win 11 or 12 games. Their defense was excellent. Their offense was excellent. Do they have to have 2 MVP finalists? Of course not. Then we get to the Buffalo Bills, who the entire case for Josh Allen MVP finalist is he's a hell of a runner. That's it. That's the whole case. Because the passing numbers blow no one away for the 3rd time in 4 years. The quarterback wins, folks, blows no one away. He just finds a way. It's the opposite. Of their 6 losses this year, 3, all to non-playoff teams, all to teams the Bills had more talent than them, were directly related to his mistakes.
That's true.
So I can think of 7, 8, 9 guys that should be there that are not Brock Purdy or Josh Allen. And so I just...
9 guys?
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you were to ask me, hey, Nick, who should go, and we have to invite at least 5. Lamar, Dak, and Christian McCaffrey are definitely there. People in no particular order I would invite before these 2. C.J. Stroud, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, I would think about. Those people. So maybe 9 is too many. Maybe I was picking that number. But
CeeDee Lamb is the offensive player.
No, because again, I don't think you. I think that then tell me if you agree with me, Brew, and then I'll cede the time. I think if you're going to have 2 MVP finalists on the same side of the ball on the same team, that team's got to be like the greatest show on turf Rams, where you are breaking records and the team is led entirely through that side of the football. And so, no, I wouldn't have CD, even though CD was excellent. Yeah. And I wouldn't have 2 I didn't mention, because I think Tyreek was the MVP of that team.
Oh. Okay,
what's this?
For doing what?
While Nick feels angry, I feel vindicated.
Why?
Because apparently old school Brew, you're just looking at the stats. Oh, he's not a certain Hall of Famer. Why you keep bringing up Brian Sipe and Rich Gannon and all of that? Apparently, old school Brew, is not the only one who thought that Brock Purdy should be in the MVP conversation.
We knew that. That's
all right? One thing I love about writers, and that's who votes,
is there
writers don't wave pom-poms.
For no one.
Writers are objective. All right? And writers looked at this and objectively said, Brock Purdy is in the conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, not going to win, but in the conversation. Now, you guys have said this, and this list proves you're right, that apparently, for how long has the MVP come from? A first or second seed?
What, like 20 years?
Like,
yeah.
all these
years,
guys, right?
Josh?
All these guys are first or second seed. And so I think the question, to me, the one of these that people could argue about is like Josh Allen. And I think it's like, you could argue, as you said, should C.J. Stroud be in there instead of Allen?
I would have liked
Or
that.
Mahomes in there instead of Allen?
And
let's look at the numbers, though. And you're obviously, he's not the passer Mahomes is. But I do think, Nick, nowadays, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Lamar, we have to start looking at rush touchdowns for quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts as well. I mean, his are a little different with the tush push. But these guys are legitimate rushers. And so I think there's an argument. I'll just say it's not definitive that who had the better
just
season.
Their passing numbers, because we have that too.
Right, he's not the passer. But again, to me, if you just look at Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson as a passer, they're going to be underwhelming.
I agree, but so here's the problem, and I did not at all this season, at no point and you guys will vouch for this, advocate Patrick Mahomes league MVP.
Right.
I think he's the best player
when he was
in the league.
actually in the race.
Yeah, sure.
At one point he was in the race.
Maybe after the first month of the season.
Right.
I was not arguing it. But what is so vexing to me is while the other thing I didn't argue all year was that the Chiefs' skill position players, aside from Kelsey, are all a bunch of bums. But everyone else in the media did. And so here is, to me, where it is...
Mainly
it feels,
the receivers.
It feels to me like there is a double standard going on. Mahomes having the same passing numbers as Allen, and Allen being discussed not just as a finalist, but up until week 18 that he could win it. That was the conversation.
But that was only a handful.
But clearly, I guess my point is, it clearly was not only a handful because he's there.
That's fair.
He's top 5 when the passing numbers are identical, despite the fact that everyone has said Mahomes was let down by his receivers. Right. Mahomes that the receivers would hold them back. That Mahomes, despite leading, how many times we hear about the Chiefs leading the league in drops, and that being a part of it. And so that to me is a frustrating element here. Not because I think Mahomes was league MVP or that I would have invited CJ before him because I think it's a cooler story. And I think Tyreek has an argument because I think Tua is super limited. But I don't think Purdy needs to be there, and I don't think Josh needs to be there.
I think quickly with Josh, they also, remember, they beat 5. It's regular season. Now we're thinking of the playoffs like, what? But he beat 5 playoff teams in the regular season out of 6. Mahomes only beat 1 out of 5. So I think that might have factored in.
Okay,
as well.
good. You were going to do the same. I didn't know.
Is that what you were
Although I
going
am the leader of the show, sometimes I don't know 100% what's going on. I just heard something in my ear. No.
Okay. You keep it secret?
You want me to go? Or?
I want you to go.
Wait,
I'm excited.
There is a bright side to this.
That's what I was going to say.
There is a
bright
side.
Cowboy Brew or something?
No. It's not Cowboy Brew.
Clearly y'all got something to make fun of Brew.
No, we don't. It's not.
I mean, because you're looking like it. Nick's like, you ready? Are we doing it?
So there is a bright side because Brew's Baltimore Ravens have been incredibly smart. Mm-hmm. They have seen bulletin boards around the corner and run the other direction. Mm-hmm. They want to do nothing to add motivation for Patrick Mahomes. Dusty the board. This is not the Ravens' fault.
This is the writers?
But now, newly on the board, the league MVP trophy. Oh, you're going to invite all these. That's the trophy. It's the MVP trophy. You're going to invite all these people. You're going to have a whole party for the Offensive Player of the Year, for the Defensive Player of the Year, for the league's MVP. And guess what? Not a single Chief invited for any award. Rashee Rice can't get a sniff for one of the 5 nominees for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Can't happen. Mahomes can't get Offensive Player or MVP. Andy Reid, old Andy Reid, can't get Coach of the Year. Not even invited. They're inviting 1/6 of the league for coaches. Can't do that. Brett Veach, Executive of the Year. No. So guess what? NFL honors. You're on the board. And unfortunately, the Chiefs don't get to play you. But in the meantime, they'll get to play the Baltimore Ravens, who had a plenty nominated for these awards. So we'll see.
You know what? That's fair. When I saw this list, I did think, that could motivate
we'll find
the
some bulletin board material. There we go.
Okay, Jim Harbaugh headed back to the NFL as a coach, not a player. Fresh off a national championship, Harbaugh looking to repeat the success he had in San Francisco, where he went 44-19-1. Project number 1, Justin Herbert, who had a very blasé year. 5-8, completion percentage, fine. Passing yards per game, 13th. He doesn't throw the ball deep, which seems bizarre via Kellen Moore. 20 touchdowns, just a lot of whatever.
Those passing yards per game, completion percentage, and passer rating for Josh Allen gets you invited to the MVP ceremony.
He also missed 4 games. All right, so Brew, do you believe Harbaugh can unlock Justin Herbert?
I do. And that's what he does. He unlocked Alex Smith. I don't think it's an overstatement, Nick, to say he saved Alex Smith's career. Alex Smith, the number one pick in the draft. This guy was the number one pick in the draft and hadn't had a winning season in like his first 5 or 6 years. He was hurt one of those years. So like first 6 years before Harbaugh gets there. You undisputedly viewed as a bust.
Yep.
And he gets there from a 6-10 season, and Harbaugh takes him 13-3, and they go to the conference championship game. And Alex Smith, of course, goes on eventually to Kansas City, has a nice career. Okay? Colin Kaepernick. Now, obviously, there's all types of stuff that happened after the fact, with the anthem and all that. But I mean, as a player, this guy was a borderline star. He never made a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but he was becoming a star under Harbaugh. His record with Harbaugh was 25-14. His record without Harbaugh, 3-16. So Harbaugh is a great coach, clearly. Coach. And so, look, Herbert, you mentioned it, Nick, the yards per game, completion percentage, touchdowns, all career lows this year. He was not staying. I know you talked earlier in the year about him staying steady. He was declining by the time the season ended.
And he was, I agree.
And it was a bad atmosphere and all that for him too, environment. But I think Harbaugh's unlocked.
So on that note, we can show you, because I am not one of the loud Justin Herbert critics. I think he's an A- quarterback. What's frustrating is he was an A- quarterback his rookie season. Not for a rookie, but just amongst quarterbacks was an A-, and I think he has stayed that way since then. Here is the thing, though, and this is why I think this is an interesting spot for Harbaugh. Harbaugh is a great coach. There's no doubt about it. And it is another great coach in the AFC West, and I know we'll discuss that. Harbaugh's, I think, best value is exactly with what Brew was talking about, which is he can get your quarterback, even if they don't have a ton of talent, up to a good or even great level. The Chargers quarterback is already good, has talent, so if we're going to say he's going to get him to even higher level, so be it. But the Chargers and Wildes, this is when you can make your voices and make fun of me, but I have to do it for 60 seconds. The Chargers cap situation's a disaster because they went all in. Right. And they went all in on Herbert on his rookie deal, which was smart, but they wasted it. And so next year, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, the two of them, $67 million against the cap for those two players. They're not both going to be back. Next year, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, the two of them, $74 million against the cap. They're not both going to be back. Their great center, unfortunately, has a health issue, might not come back. They have one offensive lineman you believe in, no D lineman you believe in, and they have the fourth least cap space of any team in football. It's Saints, Dolphins, Bills, Chargers. And those last three all have something in common. You had quarterback early or on his rookie contract trying to go topple the Chiefs, and none of them could do it. And so I just think that this is a team in transition. And so I think Harbaugh is the best hire they could make.
You think so?
What do you mean?
You think Belichick?
Well, I don't think Belichick wanted to go there. I'm worried about, or if I was a Chargers fan, I would be worried about exactly what Mangini told us last week. A college coach that has been 110% dialed in on high school recruiting and the Big Ten is now going to come like, all right, has he been I know Vrabel's been dialed in the entire time. I know DeMeco Ryans was dialed in for the last few years 100% of the time. He hasn't been dialed in. And if he was, he wouldn't have won the national championship if he was looking around at the NFL.
Yeah, but the last time he did it, it worked great. He was dialed in on San Diego and then Stanford, got Stanford top 5, finished season, took over San Francisco, and your point, instantly good. And so, listen, I do think he's an excellent coach. I just think the Chargers are overrated talent-wise before they had to cut all these guys they're going to have to cut, and now they're going to have to cut a lot of players this offseason.
I mean, look, and I agree with Nick on how great Harbaugh is. It was, a decade essentially ago that he was in the NFL. Yes. We've seen guys come back, John Gruden, and it's a different league. Yeah. So I will give you that, but I still would bet on Harbaugh.
Last point, while I think he's a great coach, I'd be a little anxious that, except for at Michigan, he doesn't stay anywhere. And if you're trying to take the long view with Justin Herbert, it's like he had Anthony Lynn, he had Brandon Staley. Harbaugh, aside from Michigan, is a 4-year guy. Yep. And then, are we going, you know what I mean? Are we going to be on this again? I think it's the right hire, but I don't, we'll get to it here. My guess is people are going to be more bullish on the Chargers than me.
9-8, max. Mahomes locked into the Ravens while the AFC West reloading. Sean Payton, new QB. Antonio Pierce gets a full offseason and a new QB probably. Chargers get Jim Harbaugh. Mahomes, historically dominant, Nick. I know you have these memorized, but just for the audience, 30-5 is an absurd division record, best since the merger. So should Chiefs fans like myself be worried about the Chargers?
As worried as we were about Sean Payton. They're not competing with us. They might win a game in the division in the regular season. It's hard to go 6-0 in the division every year. I understand that. But the Chargers are the team who should be bummed out is the Raiders. Because now the Raiders, it's like, damn, we're probably going to be last in the division. Yeah. Which, by the way, it should be noted, the Chargers were last in the division last year. And I know Herbert missed time, but he didn't miss the whole season. The only team in the AFC last year that finished with a worse record than the Chargers was the New England Patriots. It was by one game. Oh. Like, I think we need to reset our eyes there. And Brew, and I think we'll agree here. And I understand it's hard to project year over year, and there's injuries. But going into next season, Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Houston, and Buffalo, that's 5 teams. If all 5 quarterbacks stay healthy, I would expect all 5 of those teams to make the playoffs. But let's say one of them gets hurt once. But say there's 4 playoff spots taken. There's only 7. These next 8 teams, if you ask their fans today, they all think they're in. Cleveland, they were in this year with 4 quarterbacks. Yep. Miami, Pittsburgh, they're there every year. Jacksonville, who had the down, I'm telling you, their fans thinking. Right. The Jets believe it. You cannot.
We don't need to talk.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. The Chargers, Denver, and a team you guys will roll your eyes at again, but was playing in a playoff game in the final week of the year, Indianapolis. So there's only 3 teams whose fans going into the season think they're not making the playoffs: Tennessee, Las Vegas, and New England. Right. That's it. And so my point is the Chargers are competing, even with Harbaugh, Brew, to me, for one of those final 2 or 3 playoff spots, not with the Chiefs for the top of the conference.
Yeah, look, worried, scared are too strong. I mean, the Chiefs, you got Patrick Mahomes. They don't need to be scared or worried about anybody, okay? But on alert, raise your eyebrow, take note, sure. I mean, I do think the Chargers, and I didn't pick them this year to make the playoffs. Most people did. I don't remember if you did or not, but most people had them in the playoffs. I didn't think because of Staley they'd make it, but they were in it a couple years ago. They only won 5 games this year, but of the 12 losses, Nick, 7 came by 3 points or less. And they're going to have those guys, you could tell they had lost faith in Staley. So they're going to be reinvigorated. Whoever's back, they're going to be reinvigorated. Eckler, they'll probably lose, I'm guessing. Yeah. Although, running back, who knows what the market will be like for him. I think even if they lose and they can find a running back, they'll probably keep one of their receivers, I'm thinking. Yeah. Maybe Keenan Allen. So I think they're going to be good. I think they'll get into the tournament. And if you're in the tournament with a great coach and a great quarterback, then you got a shot. But I don't think the Chiefs should be scared.
That's where I just, and this is where I guess I do come across as a Herbert critic. I'm not ready to call Justin Herbert a great quarterback yet. He's very talented. I think that if you're this deep into your career and you are not either a postseason lock or in the one time we saw him in the playoffs, I thought he played very poorly after the first quarter and a half of that game. There's too many quarterbacks in the AFC that, to me, are known factors that even if Herbert is great, whose name I would have ahead of him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, right now, I trust C.J. Moore. You have to trust
1 year, but C.J.
Lamar Moore, and then Josh, Joe, and Patrick. That's 5.
That's fair.
That's 5, and then you see.
But I feel like he was under such a handicap with Staley. I mean, it just.
You wanted to fire Staley months ago.
It wasn't.
Well, no, because he was at Michigan.
I would have been right.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.